Gaming during the chaotic times of the Satanic Panic era. Join us as we delve into gaming and its survival aspects.
All right. So, okay, we actually have us both on the screen at the same time. I'm sort of impressed. Yeah. A lot of empty space, though. So I'm going to go ahead and readjust it a little bit. So we're like not, I'll stack us on top of each other. There we go. And then I'll expand it out. And this is the fun part of why we need technical support for this stuff. Because, one person doing all the technical support for this stuff is problematic at best, I guess.
Yeah.
So, hi, everybody. Michael Anderson Henderson Dorland here, along with
Step Pope Richard.
Step Pope Richard.
Regional Step Pope of Wyoming and Northeast Wyoming and the Great Plains.
And how is it going out there with the chapter in Wyoming?
Well, it's pretty much still just me. That may be related to the fact that this is the reddest county in the reddest state, or it may be that I just don't want to talk to people.
50-50 on that, maybe. I don't know.
I think 50-50 might actually be a little generous.
Okay. I'm assuming generous on the other side, and as opposed, I know I lived up there. There was plenty of people who weren't red,
Well,
and they felt marginalized because they weren't red. See, that's one of the things we want to do is we want to try to get what do you call that? People out there to connect with other people.
well, and I'm kind of introverted even before you take into account my politics. So
Okay, well that's good to know. Wish we would have realized that before things, we got you involved in this. I'm joking. I knew that beforehand.
you've known me a long
I've
time.
known you a long time, so I knew that was going to be a case, but
And
that's
we've
okay.
both been gamers for a long time too.
Yeah, we have been gamers and everything. I've got you're like really quiet today. I got to try to figure out a way to. Well, now you're muted. I clicked on mute, so that wasn't good either. So this is what happens when the other members aren't here to like keep us in check and everything. We get to just here, let me bump you up so you're a little bit more loud like me. Test. You want to test?
This is me. I
Yeah.
also moved my microphone a shade closer.
There we go. You're not too loud. You're not too soft.
Good.
Thank you, baby bear. All right. So, well, one thing I want to point out before we get into the discussion today, which I think is a fairly serious discussion, and one of the things I want the cult to like focus on in a different, in addition to our basic philosophy, which is what's our philosophy? What's the basis of our philosophy?
The basis of our philosophy is the 5 tenets.
Yes.
Tenet 1, be kind, which is a radical concept apparently these days, but it's got basis in a lot of history. Tenet 2, if you can't be kind, be nice. Also a radical concept these days. Tenet 3, if you can't be nice or kind, at least be funny. As long as you're not punching down, that's just mean. People have stuff to deal with enough without us making fun of them for having stuff to deal with. Tenet 4, if you can't manage to be funny, then be quiet. Nobody needs to hear your less than kind and not funny rhetoric. And if you can't manage any of those, then tenet number 5 kicks in. Just get the heck out of there. Or as we sometimes say, fuck off.
You missed that. That's a 10. What is it? 10-minute mark? 5-minute mark?
I was
You
about to
swore.
ask,
Now
I
we're
forgot.
adult content.
Well, we are adults.
I don't know. You say that for yourself. It's definitely not me. I've got
We
this.
meet all the legal requirements, and then some.
That's true. That's true. We do meet all the legal requirements and everything.
One other foundational concept which isn't a tenet, although we have described it as the zeroth tenet from time to time, is that failure is mandatory. Or rather, let me rephrase that. Failure is not an option. It's mandatory.
Yeah, it has more of an impact if you throw that,
Yeah,
you know.
because there's a twist. Everybody likes a twist.
I don't think we're really going to bring in a lot of audience with the
This is my
dancing.
attempt at TikTok.
I th-
Let's twist again. Sorry. Uh,
once we hit 1,500 subscribers, you should twerk. So that could be like a goal for people. Subscribe and you can watch Richard twerk once we hit 1,500 subscribers. That should take a while so you can practice, obviously. So
yeah, well, I'm also losing weight. I'm sure it will be less impressive.
yeah, well, that's okay. I'm not. So if I twerked, I might, it'd be like
Anyway,
Patrick and SpongeBob twerking. It's definitely.
After spending so much time talking about and demonstrating how old we are, the natural implication of that is that since we've been gaming for so long, more than 30 years, like 40 years even.
Really? 40 years?
At least. 40 years would be 1985. I was definitely gaming before that.
Thanks. I feel old. The gray beard was bad enough when I started getting that, but now I feel old on top of it.
But we started. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say one thing we're talking about today, since we haven't got around to actually talking about the topic of today and everything.
I was just about to.
Oh, well, yeah, why don't you talk about the topic of today in context, and I'll sit over here.
So one of the things that was going on in the 80s in the gaming subculture that you and I were in, especially in red areas, but more broadly across the United States, was what phenomenon known as the Satanic Panic. And you and I both experienced gaming in those days. Do you want to talk about exactly what the Satanic Panic was, and B, how it affected you?
Well, I mean, and I don't know I want to find out how it affected you too, but first off, the reason we're talking about this, and the Satanic Panic is a perfect example of a trying time, because it was the 80s, it was the Reagan eras, it was which bled into the Bush 1 era. And there was a lot of economic uncertainty and difficulty all over the place. It was a tough time for liberals and things like that. And it's not as chaotic or upsetting or dangerous as it is now, but it still was not a great environment. And pop culture had not gotten to the point where fantasy was as accepted, superheroes and comic books were as accepted. Comic books were still considered kids' stuff. It was the years before graphic novels and things like that. And thanks to Tom Hanks, and I don't think it was Tom Hanks primarily, I think it was the guy who wrote the book that they based the movie off of. But at one point, and I don't remember when this was exactly, when Dungeons and Dragons came out and started becoming a really popular culture item, especially for us geek kids, which there was not a ton of geek kids, but it started making some headlines when one of the kids, Berkeley, some college, managed to go a little off kilter, wind up playing in the steam tunnels with his friends, LARPing back in the late 70s, early 80s, and managed to unalive himself in a way that his mom, as opposed to blaming the fact that he was a closet homosexual and he had drug problems and he was having problems fitting in with everything, none of that actually caused his problems it was all the game that caused the problems. It was all this Dungeons and Dragons games. And so she had this investigator. She had this Wow, that's weird. Oh, my mouse is in the wrong spot. I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Oh, okay. Anyway, so she had this investigator come in and investigate. He helped confirm that it was the actual game that caused the situation. And they wrote a book about it. And then they turned that book called Mazes and Monsters into a motion picture starring Tom Hanks, which was then shown on CBS. And as it was shown on CBS, you know, of course, everybody across the country was having, you know, trying to find reasons for kids having problems. As you know, I was undiagnosed ADHD bipolar, but until I was 32. But I was exhibiting signs back in third grade that probably was an issue. But instead of actually looking into, you know, things like ADHD or bipolar, they said, oh, it's things like this, or it's these. And so parents latched onto this, and there's this underlying religious current underneath it. Whereas if your kid played Dungeons and Dragons, he was going to learn how to cast spells and everything. And I remember one article I read, this player was talking to the lady who was backing the book, and he goes, fine, I'm going to cast a spell on you. I'm going to cast a charm. And then he rolls a d20 and goes, oh, look, it didn't affect you. And she goes, of course not. I've got God behind me, or something like that. So
yeah,
it was like,
well, the ignorance of even the most rudimentary mythological, historical, legendary view of magic never involved tossing weird shapes around. It always had something to do with bubble, bubble, toil and trouble, or, you know, Eye of Newt or something.
well, yeah, popular culture, people who actually, and you know, you could see the New Age movement grow out of this, and various aspects like that. One of the problems they had with the D&D thing is it became like books kids would carry around, and in the monster manual at the time, there was a picture of a succubus that raised flags, and then there was another picture of a nude lady in another book, and then, you know, so it was corrupting the youth on so many levels. But I mean, and the thing was, they had like burnings, and it wasn't just role-playing games. It was all across pop culture. It hit heavy metal, it hit movies, it hit fantasy books where they were calling Tolkien satanic and wanting to burn Tolkien books. And I remember this one event I saw. I didn't go to it, but I read about it, and it was in a different state than I was, but they were talking. It was like an advertisement about doing it, saying, "Bring all your kids, you know, heavy metal records, and bring all your kids Tolkien books, and bring all your kids C.S. Lewis books and everything because they're fantasy, and we'll burn them." And I'm sitting here going, "Wait a second, C.S. Lewis books you're gonna burn because they're satanic when they're exactly the opposite, because they're entirely Christian religious foundation to those books." It just showed that these people did not think about what they were doing, and they had an actual organization. They called it Mothers Against Dungeons and Dragons, which is weird because it turned into Mothers Against Drunk Driving in a way. But it was fairly short-lived in my area, which was a red state. Because one, there wasn't a lot of us geeks around that played the game. So, you know, we weren't that big of a target. There wasn't like, you know, we didn't get any of the kids with the religious parents that worried about joining us and everything. And the other aspect of it is that role-playing games you know, branched off in so many different genres that the Satan aspect of it lost its focus fairly soon.
Yeah.
One of my
Once you,
friends, huh?
I was going to say, once you started getting science fiction based role playing games, the connections to the occult were diluted quite a bit.
Yeah, I remember one of my friends could not play D&D, could not look at the books, could not have anything like that. But once we got Marvel superheroes, it was perfectly fine for him to play a role playing game
Yeah.
because it was superheroes. It wasn't demonic fantasy and
Hmm.
everything. And so, and as that went along, I only had a few real run ins with people who were big into it. There was this girl at my high school who was big anti role playing games, anti Dungeons and Dragons, but we sat every lunch hour most of the time, a couple times a week, and just talk about it because I don't know, it's fun to have conversations about it. And I knew I wasn't going to change her mind, but she wasn't going to change my mind. But I guess we enjoyed talking to each other. So she was cute, but you know, no dating there. And I moved to a different school the next year. But it was funny because her parents owned Cosmos up in South Dakota.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Her
The
parents
Nature's
owned
Mystery area.
Nature's Mystery Era, where the trees grow sideways.
Yeah.
And
And you fall up and
she told
stuff,
me
water runs
all
uphill.
she told me all the tricks that they used up there to make those up because they tied the trees down in the off season. So they would in the 8 months that they didn't have tourists, they would take and tie the tree down in the off season.
They also never delved very deeply into why exactly the gravity anomaly only extended just the 3 feet length of the trough running from the bottom of the water container. But as soon as you got to the end of it, the water again followed the regular gravity and fell down.
And that was and even more funny and off topic, sort of, was in high school 2 years later when I was over in Central High School. One of the guys in my physics class for his final paper wrote up a paper explaining why the cosmos actually worked. Justifying all of the things of trees growing sideways, of water running uphill, in sheer actual. Yeah, me and him almost failed the class because of our final papers, but they were well. The teacher said they were well written, so that was the plus. You know, he said of his it wasn't accurate, so that was his grade. My grade was you were asked to do something you could perform an experiment on, and you can't perform the experiment. And I said, what's wrong with an experiment? You can vaporize a person in like an instantaneous second. So, I mean, that's not an experiment you can do. I go, well, if we were in a different country that didn't have as big a human rights issue, I suppose you could
So,
do it now, though, here in
in
America.
the not too distant future, you might be allowed to do that kind of thing. You just
I,
got to
I,
choose the right subject.
well, basically, watching it right now, I probably could get away with it because nobody else is listening to laws that take place. Anyway, we're not going to wander down that path. We're talking about gaming and
Talking
how
about
to
gaming.
deal with that and how to use gaming in times of that so that you don't go insane and you
Yes.
don't lose hope.
Not going
And
insane is a valid and valuable thing.
yeah, well,
So,
I don't even think I could say you could not lose hope, but I guess not become so hopeless that you don't survive.
so how would you use games to survive and try to mitigate the loss of hope?
Oh,
Or how did
well,
you?
how did I? Hmm. by being fascinated with them. I don't think it was something that I naturally fell into in terms of, it's not something I naturally fell into, surviving with games. It's just that coming back out of my childhood and looking into what it was and how it worked, I saw that one of the structures that was there that let me not unalive myself, which was a popular idea in my head constantly, i.e., bipolar, unmedicated, and everything, was the fact that I had games and gaming of all types to stand on top of and make sure that I didn't do something stupid. And it wasn't so much that I was focused on, I'm going to focus on the game. It just was naturally something it appealed to me on several levels that made my focus towards it. Like maps. Maps were the big thing that drew me to D&D in the first place. Because it's like a dungeon map. You can draw a dungeon map. Oh, wait a second. I don't have to use these maps in these books, which are really, really cool. I can go buy graph paper and I can make these maps. And I can go and draw out my own dungeon. Oh, wait, I can create my own thing and everything. And I remember drawing maps and maps and maps. And back in the day, graph paper was only sold at stationery stores. You know, we grew up in a town with a Pomida and a Ben Franklin craft store and 2 drugstores and a Safeway and a Piggly Wiggly. And those were the only stores we had. And we didn't have any money, any money. So graph paper at 10 cents a sheet back then was a luxury in a way. And I remember going in, and then you get the fine tip markers, and then you get the mechanical pencils, so you can get the lines and the nice shading right. And yeah. And I remember also at the time that got me interested in it there was a magazine out called Games Magazine. Did you ever see that?
Oh, I feel like I did. It wasn't something that I ran across very often.
It was one magazine that we subscribed to, my parents got, and largely it was basically it really wasn't about games, it was about puzzles. So a lot of crossword puzzles, a lot of word searches, a lot of rebus, which I sucked at all of them, junior high school kid and everything. But every Christmas they would come out with the top 100 games of the year, which were not puzzles, they were actual board games, and they eventually put electronic games and role-playing games in there. And I'd look through that, and they always had a contest that they had on the front cover, they had pictures, little tiny snippets of pictures of the games that were in the 100 games, because each of the games had a picture with it. And if you could write down what each of those snippets of pictures were and send it in, you could win all of those games. It was, and so, man, I spent time and hours trying to figure out, okay, that is part of this map, or that is part of this piece of this puzzle game and everything. And so I got a fascination not only for maps, but for components. Maps and components. That's where I started. But we couldn't afford any of them. So I couldn't afford any of them. So
that graph paper was expensive and the games were expensive, and I remember nobody that I knew got into miniatures with their games because those were expensive.
Oh yeah, I remember I could tell you exactly what I had in junior high that I owned, but I borrowed everything from everybody else. I had tons of stuff and I read like everything, but it was all borrowed. What I actually literally owned myself was a copy of the Holmes Dungeons and Dragons set, because my babysitter had a copy of it and I borrowed it from her and wouldn't return it. So for Christmas one year, my parents bought her a new basic set and bought me the expert set. But that was the Moldvay basic set that she got, and I got the Cook expert set, which went together. And then eventually she gave me the basic set because she couldn't figure it out. So I wound up with the 2 basic sets because the Holmes basic was completely different than the Moldvay. And we were, so I had those. And then my grandparents bought me a DMG, first edition.
Dungeon Master's Guide.
Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master Guide, which was completely incompatible with the 2 other sets I had. Because it was advanced, not basic. And then somebody, I think it was my grandparents, bought me a collection of miniatures from Grenadier, wizard miniatures, back when they were lead, before they became pewter. And those were so cool, but I never did anything with them. And then
they were expensive in time too.
Well, yeah. Well, and I didn't know how to paint miniatures. I put models together, but they all turned out like crap too, you know. And speaking of models, the model kits that they made, they actually made a dungeon scene kit where you got all miniatures that you snap together, but it had one of those, those plastic form molds where they have a sheet of plastic and they pull it down on top of something and it molds it into a shape. And they had mold shaped these this dungeon, 3D dungeon, back in 1981, something like that. And I got that for Christmas. They also made a tack on Hoth set that same year with super little itty tiny miniature stormtroopers and everything, and a couple decent sized AT-AT walkers on a form mold Hoth. Again, I can't paint miniatures worth shit. So it was a cool model that didn't get the love that it should have gotten. See, and once I get off this call, I'm going to go onto eBay and I'm going to find a copy of both of those things that haven't been opened or put together, and I'm going to order them and get them. And I think Dr. Jess is listening to me, so she might lock my card before I get a chance to do that until I forget that I was going to do that. But we'll see how well that works and everything. Maybe I should buy it right now while we're on here. So, yeah, that's, I don't even, yeah.
It sounds like expense isn't as much of a deal for you now. Or maybe that's why Dr. Jess would turn off your card, because it is.
We're not talking about my game collection now. We all know what my game collection looks like now.
Those of us who know and love you definitely do. But how do you deal with the expense of it all when you don't have the resources?
There's a thing that they call now in the community, in the big role-playing community, they call it now, they got a word for it. I don't remember what the word is, but the word means make shit up. Yeah, that's what it is. We make shit up. Oh, wait, they call that homebrew now. Ooh, I homebrewed that. Yeah, back in the day, you make shit up. I mean, but that was the thing with gaming back then anyway. Nobody knew what the hell we were doing. It's a brand new thing. I'm in the middle of South Dakota in a town with 2 grocery stores, a Pomida, 2 drugstores, and a craft store, and 2 catalog stores. Oh, we had 1 hardware too. Nobody there knew how to play D&D. This guy moves from California who played it. I do remember that they did have a D&D club in junior high. They did have a junior high. It was the gifted students played D&D.
Yep.
I wasn't in there.
That's how it worked in Spearfish too.
Yeah.
The gifted program sponsored D&D.
I wasn't in there. I eventually got put in the gifted program, but that's after they went from D&D to focusing on computers. And that was the other thing. Computers and gaming were a big thing. And that moved out of the realm of role-playing games into just games. So, And I think games of all types. I know we talk a lot about role playing games, but I think games of all types are good to use as a way of dealing with the world because, and I think we're going to see this get worse and worse over the next couple of years, where people feel like they don't have any control over their lives.
Yeah.
And eventually they're going to be, I don't have any money, or I have very little money. And games are, well, if you get the ones with all the miniatures and all the bells and whistles and everything like that, yeah, they're a little expensive. A lot expensive. But you don't need to buy every supplement. You don't need to buy every book. You don't need to buy every add-on pack. And, this whole homebrew thing makes it sound, like you have to have advanced skills to do it. When it's really just make shit up.
Yeah.
And everything. Oh, but you got to have game balance. Okay, a game balance is fine, but if everybody at the table agrees that if you put all the tax money and all the chance money in the middle of the board and whoever lands on it for free parking gets the money, there's no real balance to the game when you do that, but it sure makes it a bit more fun,
And for a game like Monopoly, you really do need to find ways to make it fun.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, as long as everybody agrees to what you put together, that's the balance really you need.
Yeah, I've seen that in role-playing games before, where, like in time travel games, they talk about how try to make some kind of balance between a Roman legion and a modern U.S. Army squad with their assault weapons and things, and trying to find a way to keep that balanced. And the point that I'm getting to eventually is the game system I was looking at said, as long as everybody is okay with the imbalance, it doesn't matter.
Well, if everybody's okay with the imbalance, it's not really so much an imbalance in your game.
Yeah, it's the balance that you've chosen.
Yeah. It's what do they call that? Another concept that we subscribe to? Consensual reality. If everybody agrees that Bill is always the Scotty dog, then we're fine, because Bill's always the Scotty dog. That's an exception of Bill's Scotty dog status and everything. But it can be cheap. A lot of people look at it, okay, Warhammer can't be cheap. I mean, really, well, I guess if you go out there and you find somebody who will sell you their army they didn't paint and they never got into, you can pick up miniatures pretty cheap. Yeah, I started painting these 5 miniatures and found out I suck at it and nobody would play with me. So I, gave my, I'll sell you my miniatures for like a quarter of the price that I paid for them. It's awfully hard to find those people, but I did pick up a Tyranid army that way. So that was good.
Okay.
Did I paint them? No. Are they sitting over here? Still a mess? Yeah. But I picked them up for cheap, so.
Yeah. So that's a different issue. So is there any particular aspects of gaming that are helpful, or is there anything you can tease out that was more helpful to you in your situation?
I knew what to expect.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we're talking about using gaming as resilience. Right now, if you go out there in the world today, did anybody expect the White House to get torn down like that? No, that sort of blindsided everybody that they would be brazen enough to do that without permits or permission or anything from anybody.
Yeah.
Just went out there and just whack. Now, granted, it didn't affect my house because my house didn't get torn down, but it still was a little bit of an emotional impact. And it was blindsided. You didn't know what to expect. If you're
And there wasn't
playing,
anything you could do afterward.
there was nothing you could do afterwards. If you're playing Squad Leader, which is a war game from Avalon Hill, people don't play war games anymore, but man, those maps with the hexes and the artwork on them, and the little cardboard counters, because you got thousands of them for pieces and everything. You knew that if you were playing a scenario that says you're going to be going into this village in France and getting shot out by Germans, you know that you're going to be going into the village in France and getting shot at by Germans. There's like no real surprise there. There could be a surprise in how the game plays out, but at least going into it, you're not caught off guard. Oh, what the heck? I'm in a village and it's Polish people. Oh, wait, no, it's the Russians bombing. No, because the scenario tells you what the game is. Mm-hmm. When you go to play D&D, unless you're playing with me, if you're playing in current Kryn Dragonlance style game, most GMs stick with that setting the entire time. So you know what you're getting. You know how it works. There are no hobbits. There's just Kender. Now, that's not always true, because some people like me trump it up a little bit. I guess that's the best way to say it. But even if you know me, if you trump it up, you know me. So that's decent, because you're not caught off guard. Because you accept Michael's going to just throw something at you like the kitchen sink. Mm-hmm. You have a little bit of rules, structure, control. And the other, when you sit down to play a game, Richard, do you expect something? Are you caught off guard by stuff? I mean,
so I try to plan ahead. I generally stick to published adventures and then be ready for the things that are actually written down in the published adventure. But it is frequently the case that my players will do something that I didn't anticipate, and then I gotta adjust. But that's fun too. That's a creative thing.
But you have a structure around adjusting it. That's the thing.
Yeah. So I've got a story that has been put together, and once I know what the story is supposed to be, then I can use that as a jumping off point.
Well,
when I do have to improvise.
And strength is strength. Intelligence is intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to autism's caused by, early, what do they call that? I just had a brain cramp.
Acetaminophen?
No, not Tylenol. Circumcision.
Oh.
Yeah, see? I mean, that's definitely will catch people off guard when you think of that. It's like,
I had successfully forgotten that was a thing.
That's the problem with all of this stuff. And I guess you could equate it to like a game company that constantly is rolling out new rules every single week. I guess the world today could be compared to Dragon Magazine and how they release things like, oh, here's the anti-paladin, and here's this class, and here's this new set of spells. Except those still followed a basic rule structure. Now we have things that don't follow any rule structure or relate to any sort of sense of consensual reality whatsoever. A paladin levels up, an anti-paladin levels up the same way. And the results you're going to get. Like, White House gets destroyed in the middle of, out of the blue. But if you're playing Escape from Death Star, the Kenner version from 1978, you know that eventually the Death Star is going to get destroyed. So, you have a sense of standard there. So clinging to that nowadays gives you a sense of okay, at least something is following some sort of rules in society. Mm-hmm. It might just be in my backyard for like a couple hours a week as we sit around the the fire table, but at least for a couple hours that week, we know that
that up is always going to be up.
That pawn on the chessboard is always going to move 2 pieces. Unless you're playing Nightmare Chess by Steve Jackson Games, in which case some other player could play a card that makes it work differently. But that's still a structured set of rules, and everybody knows you're playing Nightmare Chess.
Yeah.
It's not like one person whips out a card in the middle of the game. Oh, I have it move this way. And everybody's like, what the heck? That's what it's like in reality today.
Mm-hmm. So, and this is kind of related to what I'm about to ask. You've said we've played for a long time, and you've played in some of my games. I've definitely played in your games. You said you prefer to GM. You don't want to be a player. So what is it about GMing that you like?
Control. Straight godhood. The fact that I rule with an iron fist. No one's going to fuck with my world. I mean, we've had long talks about player agency in my world and everything, which is strange because my kids totally push for player agency all the time. As a player, I'm going to change your setting so that it helps with my character, which actually some game systems do, like Fudge, but that's why I don't play Fudge. No, but I mean, okay, so honestly, the original reason I did it was, as I look back on it, yeah, it was that sense of control, because in my life at the time, I had no control over anything in my life, I felt. I'm with ADHD, I'm bipolar, my parents don't understand, my dad's an alcoholic, we're poor, we got shuffled around, nobody knew how to deal with me. The only thing I had to hold on to was that. And since nobody else wanted to GM, everybody wanted to play, I just sort of fell into that GM role. Plus, you got to play with all the monsters. You didn't have to limit yourself to like one character. You had a whole book of things that you could be. And you had you get to draw the maps. That was the other thing. You get to draw the maps. I'll go back to maps till I'm blue in the face. Maps are awesome. And so it was as I grew up and I started dealing with other people, it became more of a situation where either I was like, well, I wouldn't have done that, or I wouldn't have GM'd that way. And I was young and still unmedicated, so it just was better to not play. The other thing is I played really obnoxious characters, so nobody wanted to play with me and everything. I mean, come on, look, back in college when we played in John's all evil campaign, who were the most disruptive people in that entire campaign? Me and Steve. Why? I mean, we sold one of the other player characters into slavery without them knowing that we sold them into slavery. And then took the item they were trying to barter for and went ahead with the adventure without the rest of them. Because that's what our players would have done.
I remember playing Star Frontiers with you. And you were playing the amoeba-like Dralosite race. But you played him as a not exactly an Archie Bunker type, but
close to it.
Close to it. You'd create a space inside your malleable amoeba-like body to keep your beer.
I smoked cigars too.
And smoked cigars.
Made sure I blew smoke in people's faces.
Even though your character race only breathes through their skin, you were still able to.
Yeah, you could make a pocket inside your body.
Pocket inside to gather the smoke in.
Yeah, I remember all the players were like, what the hell are you doing? I go, I had a fascination with Verusks too, the insect ones, because one of the other players was a Verusk. I was reading Play Verusk magazine, things like that. Yeah. Generally disruptive. but I was funny and disruptive. So,
Yes, I actually kind of like that character.
well, and it goes back to the one thing that I have that's standard across all of my games that I play, and the other reason that I GM more than I play. And that thing applies to computer games, to video games, to anything like that. I sort of suck at playing games from a player standpoint of I want to achieve or I want to win or something like that. So like if you play me in a board game, the chances of you winning are pretty darn good unless I get really lucky or something. And even when, which boggles my mind because like all sorts of people think that I'm really good at playing. And like I'm great at this stuff, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I lose concentration. I get bored. I'm busy talking to people too much. You know, I make characters that are disruptive and everything like that. Even in computer games, I could sit and practice a move 10 million times and never get it down right, and I don't know why. I remember we were playing Junta, which is a board game. And it's one of those board games that you play if you don't want to be friends with any of the other players ever again. That's the best way to describe it. It's like almost as bad as diplomacy, but not quite. But you play a dictator of a small South American country. And your goal is to get so much of your money over to your Swiss bank account. And it was one of those games 100 games that I wanted, and I got it, and we finally got enough players to actually play it because you can't really play it with 3 players or 2 players because the whole point is backstabbing everybody else and making up deals. And we got in the game, and everybody was like, oh, it's Michael's game, so Michael has this down. He knows this. He's an expert at this stuff. And I'm like, I've never played it before. I've just read the rules. I've wanted to play it for over 25, 30 years because I saw it in a game magazine back then. But I was assassinated 3 times in the first 3 turns because everybody thought I was so good at it. First turn,
like overkill.
First turn, my wife, boom, kills me, assassinates me. And then Aaron assassinates me in the next turn. And then somebody, I think my wife assassinated me again the next turn. The first 3 turns of the game, I could do nothing because I got assassinated.
Yep. That sounds like a difficult time.
Well, no, it's not difficult. It's just I represent that failure is not an option. It's pretty much mandatory when you're playing a game with me.
So did you notice any patterns on what games could hold your attention versus ones that couldn't?
Yes. Adderall.
Okay.
No. When I started taking Adderall, I could hold my attention on a lot more games than anything else.
So that was the only pattern you picked up on?
Yeah, the pattern was that when I got medicated, I could actually focus a little bit more and actually finish a game of chess. That's how you could tell it was working on me because like I've been playing chess since like elementary school and I sucked at it. But a large reason I sucked at it is because after about 5 moves, I get bored or I get distracted by something else and I lose total track of the game. I started taking my ADHD medications when I was 32 and I realized, hey, I can actually focus for the entire game and pay attention to it. That's pretty good. And so I actually started using that as a way of testing if my medications were working or not. Because if I couldn't sit through a game of chess, then my medications weren't working or not. If I could, then I was. I couldn't tell anywhere else in my life that they were working. Everybody else could tell, but I couldn't tell. Oh yeah, he didn't take his medication today. I don't know. I feel the same as I did yesterday when I know I did take it. Oh, let's play a game of chess. Oh yeah, okay, there we go. understand that entirely. Car Wars is interesting. I stayed focused on Car Wars pretty good back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything about Car Wars that made that different, or
It was so detailed. There were so many aspects of it to pay attention to.
so you had lots of hooks to hang your attention on?
Yeah, yeah. You made your cars up. Remember, you had to buy the engine and the chassis and then the frame and then mount your weapons on them. And every weapon had its own unique damage and could take as many damage points. It was just detailed enough that it turned me into hyper focus mode. Because, you know, you got those settings, and in ADHD gives you those settings of I'm not paying attention to anything and I'm all over the place, or I'm hyper focused and that's all I'm going to focus on.
Uh-huh.
And strangely enough, I never got hyper focused for very long though. Maybe a couple days I get hyper focused on something, but then something else would distract. But that's still how it is today.
Yeah. I've never been diagnosed, but I have found when I was working on projects for work that there were times when I could get hyper focused and push to make good progress, when most of the time I was flitting from one thing to another.
Well, and that's one thing we keep saying with the cult and the other group we have is that I have ADHD, and really to keep it under control in a way that doesn't exhaust me, because I can keep it under control, but man, it just wears you down. Is I take medication, but everybody has ADHD moments. Everybody has anxiety moments. Everybody has depression moments, which is not the same as having that per se, but it doesn't change the fact that you're experiencing the same symptoms as somebody who has it. It's just, I like to say everybody has ADHD moments. It's just some people get to take vacations and other people don't.
Mm-hmm.
So anything we talk about, like with anything that I have to deal with, like my game shop anxiety, because I hate walking into game shops and running games in game shops because I just get anxious. Are these people judging me? Are these people looking at me? Do they think that I'm weird? Do they think that I'm a really bad GM? Do they think that this is a stupid game we're playing where you have aliens that tractor beam up cows? Which is actually a really cool board game. My friend Aaron gave it to me. I don't know what it's called. I just have the pieces to it, but
Yeah,
it's
it sounds familiar. The description sounds familiar, but I can't think of
it's
the
like
name of the game.
Yahtzee. You have a row of cows on either side of the board, and then you roll dice to see which cows you can suck up. And but I mean, like, you go into a game store with a game like that, or worse yet, nowadays, if I walk into a game store with Car Wars, the original version, and everybody looks at it and says, oh, there are these little cardboard counters of cars on this 1-inch grid graph paper that you roll dice on, and there's 20 tables that you have to roll against. Well, why don't we play this new version of Car Wars over here, which has Hot Wheel style cars and a bunch of specialty dice, and you make your car by just picking cards out of a card deck. And I'm like, how are they judging me? Oh my God, he's old. I'm sure that's a given, but what the hell is this game? This is a stupid game. Why would anybody play it, you know? So it gives you a sense of anxiety, but I don't suffer from anxiety. Everybody has those moments, and the tools that people who have those use are the same that tools normal people would use to deal with those moments.
Yeah.
So, you know, you could say, oh, I'm gaming with ADHD, and here's how I game with ADHD. But you know what? Those same things you just said can apply to everybody out there who's having an ADHD moment at the time they're having an ADHD moment.
So, what do you say to people who say you're just escaping the real world by digging into these games, trying to avoid reality?
Why wouldn't I? Is that what I said? Dear
Okay.
God, have you not looked outside? This is the best way to deal with it. No, that's not what I say, and you know that.
Yeah.
Because I think there was only one time in my life that I got so wrapped up in a game that I actually was doing that, and that was that 2 months I was playing Ellendor the Mush.
Okay.
You weren't around. It was last year. I was up in South Dakota, and it was a mush. It was called Mush. It was a multi-user shared hallucination, and basically it was Zork, multiplayer Zork. So it was a text-based multiplayer game online before they had graphic multiplayer games. And it was based on Tolkien's Middle Earth. And so you could log in and you'd make up your character, and it had actual rules for your character. You had stats and everything. So it gave you that structured feel to it. But you just walk around with like 900 other people in this text-based game doing stuff and role-playing things. And I think I lost like a month and a half where I just would play it constantly, and that's all I would do. And I just got sucked into it. And yeah, that was not good. And I determined that could be an issue I have. So when Warcraft came out, World of Warcraft came out, I definitely didn't get into that.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't have been bad, because I have played some games like that since then, and I realized that it's so boring with all the grind that I can't play it for very long before I get just like, why am I grinding this much? I could be making a dungeon or drawing a map. Which is more interesting to me than running around and beating up that first level thug, or going out in the woods and beating up wolves over and over and over again until I can level up to beat up the guy who... Sorry, South Park episode there. So yeah, like my Dr. Jess says, moderation is the key. And games drive a lot of what I want to do with my life. And I think they're a good tool for people to use, provided they don't use them just as escapism and don't pay attention to what's going on around you.
So if it's not escapism, what is it?
It's recovery time.
Ah.
Because like, okay, let's take, for example, the last 2 days as an example, okay? Let's see. We're getting ready to do a ground war with Honduras. Trump's going over to fight with Z in China and make our economic situation even worse. They just tore down the East Wing of the entire White House. And what 5 other things happened? Because I know 5 other things happened at least in that amount of time. Yeah. How do I stop doom scrolling to find those 5 other things? So I could go lay on the couch and just watch a movie. I mean, I've done that before, where I lay on the couch and watch old episodes of Mary Tyler Moore and think fondly back to, why can't we just be in the 70s again? When I was 5 or 6, please. But I'm a big proponent of active creativity and active imagination and active, as opposed to passive entertainment. Active entertainment as opposed to passive entertainment. When you're watching a movie, you're watching something somebody else created. When you're technically, when you're playing in World of Warcraft, you're sort of playing in what somebody else made up, but you still can make up your character. You still can control over your character. You still have input into the world through your character. When you get to, you don't have that much in board games, but board games provide a sense of community where you can sit around with people that you know or don't know and play a game that gives you a feeling of, I can connect to these people. I can connect to them in this, what did I call that? Consensual reality of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that connection can actually apply outside of the game as well. Maybe we have a shared consensual reality outside of just the game. Maybe we don't, maybe we do. But it's a good place to go to get the feeling that you have that. When you have those, then that stuff that you don't have control of outside of your window, outside of your screen door and everything like that,
Mm-hmm.
then you can at least build up resistance, so the next time you go out there and doom scroll, you're at least have something that, you know, recharged your batteries a touch, or you know that you have a place you can go back to and everything. Like as an example, the east wing of the White House is being torn down. I don't know how many people out there like really stress about that or get upset about that or feel like it's a bad thing. Like, you know, like the fact that there was no permits, there was no approval, there was nothing. They just started ripping it down, and there's no way to rebuild it. There's no way to rebuild that again. The same way, it's gone. So what do? Well, after I saw that and I saw how bad it was, I got online. I downloaded a full-scale model of the White House in Minecraft and then uploaded it to our Minecraft server. So now we still have a full-scale model of the White House and the whole lawn and everything like that, where you can still walk through the East Wing. It's not the same, but it's still there. It's in a game environment. And if you want to, you can come online and play Zombie Attack in the East Wing. Can you defend yourself from massive zombie attacks in the East Wing? Look, the East Wing's being torn down. Can you escape in time? Big bulldozers tearing down walls. You have to escape through it. You know, it gives you that sense of at least it's not totally gone in that case.
Yeah.
Even if you're out there getting your ass handed to you in a video game or getting your ass handed to you in a role-playing game, you still have control over your character. You're still the one making the difference, and your character can still make a difference in the world. And if your GM's a good GM, or if the game's a good game, it's going to make you feel like you made a difference in that world. Make you feel like you had some success or something. And then you can walk away saying, hey, maybe I lost my job today, but at least I saved the princess. Okay, that's a crappy analogy because, you know, saving princess could be considered sexist nowadays too. But I saved the prince. I saved the heteronormal culture. I don't know. It's
saved the heir to the throne.
Yeah.
Protected the monarchy. That's valuable these days.
Not necessarily. We don't have a monarch. We don't want to protect the monarchy. What are you, some sort of freaking crypto bro? Speaking of which, we are working on our own cryptocurrency for the cult, just so everybody out there knows that we are going to.
Look for updates at thecultofbrighterdays.org.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe.
We'll probably do some video here too.
Once we hire somebody, and once we get somebody to volunteer their time, sorry, I used the wrong word there. Once we get somebody to volunteer their time to update the website, probably.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, and one thing I noticed on YouTube lately is there's a lot more people doing solo gaming.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that. There's a lot more people out there doing solo gaming of board games and role-playing games. And you've always had solo gaming in computer and video games. But I thought that was sort of interesting. And I've I've thought about looking into that more, about not necessarily how you solo game, because it is a bit different than how we used to do it, which was very choose your own adventure style.
Mm-hmm.
But why there is such a push for solo games? I think it's partially because gaming does provide you that retreat,
Uh-huh.
which is escapism. But if you choose it as you're escaping from some situation forever versus you're retreating from the situation you find yourself in so you can regroup and come back.
Yeah, I think that's a worthwhile distinction. That escape implies that you're not going to go back, but retreat um, lets you live to fight another day.
Yeah, that's true. I think um calling it retreat from Alcatraz would have been quite a bit different in the plot idea than escape from Alcatraz.
Yes.
So, yeah, there definitely is something to be said for the parsing of the wording on that. Retreat from New York.
Washington did that once.
No retreat. I'm trying to think of ones like what other movies have? What other movies or books have the word escape in them?
The Great Escape?
Oh, The Great Retreat. We're going to get
It
out
would
of this
be,
prisoner of war camp and then we're going to come back in a couple of
yeah.
weeks. Well, that actually works with that, because didn't they liberate the camp eventually?
Well,
So I
yeah,
don't know if the people
I don't
who
think I've ever saw the
escaped,
movie.
I don't know if the people who escaped liberated the camp, but
Hogan's Heroes was more of a retreat. They could have escaped any time, but they kept coming back to help other people escape.
yeah, but they didn't have escape in the title. They were Hogan's Heroes, so they were
Right.
supposed to. They were supposed to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. A different kind of thing. So the Satanic Panic is over.
The first
It
one is.
the
The
well,
second
it's
one, the
definitely
second one's sort of dying down, but I sense a third one spinning up that deals with more than just gaming and pop culture shit.
yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me too much. But it doesn't uh, have as much. It's not as pervasive as it used to be.
Oh no, these kids nowadays don't understand what we went through so that they can, watch Avenger movies without getting beat up, or they
Hmm.
can carry those D&D books through high school halls without getting trounced. Yeah, they don't realize the suffering we went through back in the 80s.
Your ADHD and bipolar are not undiagnosed anymore, so you've got medications.
Yeah, but they
Um,
didn't go away. So,
they
it's
didn't go
just a
away,
little
but
bit better control over them and
you've
everything.
got
But
better control. Your financial situation is better than it used to be.
for now, we'll see, because the current situation in this country could go, another option. I mean,
Yeah.
it could go that way for everybody. Um,
But in the meantime, up until maybe a year ago, things were going pretty well.
I know they're going good now, too. Otherwise, we couldn't get this cult off the ground and everything. But
And yet you're still gaming.
yeah, of course I'm still gaming, because it's what it is. It's gaming's a tool. Okay, I don't jog. I should jog because I'm overweight. But you know what? Um, gaming's the same type of thing. Jogging. If you don't jog, then you lose the benefits of jogging. If you don't keep gaming, you lose the benefits of gaming. That doesn't work for everybody.
Yes.
But honestly, there's something to be said for, even if you're not running a role playing game or playing a role playing game, getting together with your family or friends and playing Trivial Pursuit. I'm not even
Hmm.
sure if that's still a game anymore, but getting together and playing Trivial Pursuit or Hand and Foot or even
Pictionary.
charades, Pictionary, is the same type of thing. It creates it's a way of centering community around stuff. And it's something that you can do when you're fonduing, which is an awesome thing to do with a community thing too. But the thing is,
melted chocolate and cheese,
right? So the difference of this is, and the reason you still do it, I'm going to go back to the difference between sitting with your friends and watching a movie and sitting with your friends and playing a game. If you're sitting with your friends and you're watching a movie, everybody's still passive. There's no interaction between the people unless it's a really bad movie like Satan's Cheerleaders, or the Sorority Girls at the Slime Bowl-orama, or Attack of the Demon, which everybody has to talk because if you actually watch the movie, your brain would melt because it's that bad. So that's a survival technique where you're just, chit-chatting because the passive entertainment's so bad. But
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got an idea for another short. You keep talking. I'm going to jot it down real quick.
Okay, you go ahead and jot that down real quick. But the thing is, you recharge your batteries by hanging out with your friends and doing that. But you could also recharge your batteries by playing a game. But when you're playing a game, even if you're playing like a game of Enchanted or a game of, I wouldn't say Tiddlywinks, that's not really that engaging. But even playing a game of Monopoly, it gives you a more active entertainment aspect to your friends and allows you to make a better connection to them. Dear God, Richard's always a dick and he won't let us play with free parking rules. I don't know why.
I did not choose my name. Sorry.
That's not what I meant. You know that. But I know you're not, you let us play with free parking rules. But my point is, you have those guys that, you have to land on the property and then auction it off. No. Just buy the property. Okay, so there's things like that. So like the first time around the board, every part, property's purchased. Everybody should agree on the rules. Otherwise, you wind up with like my Thanksgivings, where eventually it just erupts in fighting and nobody wants to play any games. That's not a good way of recharging batteries. So, make sure you agree on the rules to begin with. Mm-hmm. But active entertainment and passive entertainment have their place. And active entertainment for me is playing a game. Active entertainment is also going for a hike with your friends. It's just one's physical and the other's more mental. Both of them can be emotional, but I find that, role-playing games can be a little bit more emotionally recharging than, hiking and chit-chatting. So,
okay.
just some, it's that whole active versus passive thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It means something different when you're all gathering together to throw stuff into the pot, kind of like stone soup.
Remember when we used to game back in college, out of college, where we'd have like a potluck twice a week and we'd role play?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody would bring food over on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we'd have dinner with everybody, and then we'd role play for like 2 or 3 hours.
Yep. And there was that short period of time where we went to the pizza buffet.
Yeah, because we got too many players. Couldn't fit them in the house. And so we went down and they had that room in the back. What was it? Mm-hmm. Pizza Ranch. And they had a room in the back that they let us use on Wednesday nights. So we had a bunch of people that would drive, 60 miles up to play with us every week.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
From Rapid City in a red state. See, yep. There's blue people. Why don't you have a group that does that there, Richard?
There probably is a group out there. I just haven't found them yet.
Who's Hobby House in Rapid City? They actually have the game store that's specifically for games. And they actually have a store that's specifically for miniatures. I remember back when Who's Hobby House had a shelf of games. Maybe a couple shelves of games, and that was it. And everything else was model planes and everything like that. And then now I go there and they're like, oh, they've got a whole hobby store of just games. And I'm like, oh, that's ridiculous. And then I went in there and I looked and I'm like, oh, look, here's some things I had them order from Steve Jackson Games 20 years ago. That's still here because I never picked them up. So I'll buy them now because they're in this clearance sale bucket. But I know exactly what they were and why they were there. Yeah. So we are going to try to start having more gaming nights here. We are setting it up so that members of the cult can go out there to game stores here in Tucson or even Phoenix or surrounding areas and do game demos or run games for people who want to do things, board games, role-playing games in person. We have our online Minecraft server. We have our online Valheim server. We have characters and setups in Red Dead Redemption and in Grand Theft Auto 4. So we're more than willing to make up a crew for Cult of Brighter Days members to get online and do things together, expanding out in the computer electronic realm. And remember, we're going to be working on the new show, Games to Play Before I Die.
Yes, getting back to that again.
Yeah, where I'm going to be giving away my entire game collection.
So how do people sign up for these things?
I have no idea yet. This is another reason we need somebody to actually, help support our group and volunteer. This is another pitch for volunteers who want to join the Cult of Brighter Days and want to.
So is there a Discord that they can connect to? Is that how we get connected nowadays?
I have no idea.
Just for the time being?
I have no idea. I just lead this group. I don't actually do anything.
Okay, so there is a Discord
my job is to talk.
I don't know how to connect to it.
You're on it.
I am on it, but I don't know how to guide anybody else.
Actually,
to follow me.
I think there's a link in the description of this meeting where they can go join our Discord wasteland, because we don't have enough people participating right now. But like any community like this, it's a slow build up, and you have to build it up slowly and eventually, as opposed to just having a bunch of people jump in. Your cat is like throwing everything out of focus. Mm-hmm. So, like, as an example, we want to do more in-person things for the cult. So this next Friday, which is Halloween, we are going to be joining in, popping off. What's the company called? I just had a brain cramp because I don't remember.
Popping off.
Just had it. Here in Tucson, it's like a artsy consignment store with lots of signed comics and dice towers and all sorts of really cool stuff. And we've gone down to a lot of their events. It's Poppin' Off Creations, and it's here in Tucson. And we are going to be going down there as a group, minus you, Richard, unless you really want to show up. You're more than welcome to show up. And I just saw Dr. Jess ask the question, what about runes? That's a good question.
I saw that I was going to come back to that.
I don't even know what we were talking about. But anyway, back to the thing. It's
been there for a while.
We're going to go to be down at Poppin' Off at their site next Friday to participate with them in their trunk retreat. And at the same time, we're talking to them about holding some events there so that we can reach out to people. Like I said, we're also working on doing game demos and game requests for sessions in the local area or online via Roll20 or everything. But people can contact us through the Discord, which should be in the description of the video, or There is a way to connect to us through our website under the contact us, I do believe. I'll get on the guy who's supposed to be in charge of the website and see if he can get it done and make sure it's there.
Okay.
He doesn't listen to me very often, and he's lazier than hell, but I'm very close to him, so I might be able to kick him in the ass. You know, we really need to get somebody to do that stuff instead of me. That's all I got to say. It's just, you know, we need that support. The more support we get, the more things we can do like that. And I will post up a sign, and I will make the White House the place you log into on the Minecraft server for a while. just as a way to remember what used to be.
Gone but not forgotten.
Well, I don't know. With the news cycle the way it is, I'm not sure people remember we even have a White House within the next 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to know.
It'll be all in It'll be all in Mar-a-Lago. They got rid of the weather service. See, I figured out the plan. They got rid of the weather service, so hurricanes are going to come in and nobody knows about it. And now they've got this gaping hole in the side of the White House. And so a hurricane will come through and just run ravage over top of the White House and destroy it. So they'll have to move down to Mar-a-Lago as a temporary location for the White House or for the president's office. And then they'll just keep it down there for forever.
You know, it's really sad that
that sounds
satire
plausible.
So, yeah.
That sounds plausible.
It actually sounds plausible. It's less strange than some of the stuff that has really happened. Like,
well, and I could be wrong because, you know, circumcision and everything.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some weird things
I
going
could
on
definitely
out there,
be autistic.
the president has said, I think I can just order the Department of Justice to settle my lawsuits against them.
Oh, didn't you hear that he doesn't have to declare? Okay, today's thing that I got from yesterday was that he doesn't have to declare war in Venezuela because they're just going to go in there and kill all the bad people. He literally said that. He literally said, no, we don't have to do that because we're just going to be going in there and killing all the bad people. So we don't have to declare a war.
Okay.
He didn't say we're going to invade or capture the bad people or do anything. He said, we're going to go in there and kill the bad people. Mm-hmm. You know why he's doing this with Venezuela? Oh, there's a couple reasons, but you know, one of the main reasons is, right?
Because Maduro's the most blatantly communist person down there?
No. Well, possibly, but you got to remember, this is our divine leader. And he doesn't do anything against anybody who's bigger than him or might push back, which is why this whole China thing is backfiring on him. Because he thought he could just bully everybody into doing what he said.
He miscalculated how strong they were.
Well, and even the people that aren't strong enough are pushing back now, too, because nobody likes a bully. And, like, did you know that China's sales went up in the last quarter? Because they found other trading partners to sell their stuff to?
I hadn't heard that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so he's attacking the drug dealers who are shipping fentanyl into our country in Venezuela because he doesn't have the balls to actually go to Mexico and attack the cartels in Mexico. Mm-hmm. Because he's afraid of what Mexico will actually do to us.
Yeah.
And because they're on our border, they could do a lot more than what Venezuela can do to us, because Venezuela can't do anything to us here in the States. But Mexico could sure as heck shoot missiles back at us if we shoot missiles at them.
Yeah, and Mexico's a stronger economy, too. Venezuela's been struggling for quite a long time.
Right. So the whole thing is he can say that about going down there, but the only reason he's primarily down there to stop fentanyl, because that's not where the fentanyl from Venezuela is coming into.
Yeah.
The fentanyl from Venezuela is winding up in Mexico and coming across the Mexico border. largely, as opposed to, I don't know how many boats stop at Florida and drop off fentanyl.
Go past Cuba.
Yeah, maybe we should be focusing on Texas and Florida, because if that's where those boats are heading, who's not to say that they're actually taking the drugs over to another country and then taking a boat over there?
Yeah, Mobile Bay.
Yeah, they're not. He's just a chicken and doesn't have the balls to actually deal with the actual issue. He wants to look super tough.
Well, and he doesn't even really care about fentanyl per se. It's just
No.
another way it's another excuse to flex his muscles.
Well,
use the word muscles.
It's actually a preflex, I think. I think it's a preflex for Iceland. Oh, look, if we're willing to do this to Venezuela, what do you think you think we're going to not do this to Iceland?
Iceland or Greenland?
Whichever one he does.
The one he's been, I mean, Greenland would definitely be more of a pushover than Iceland. I mean, nothing against Greenland. Please don't at me.
Or Canada. Hey, you think we're not willing to, like, shoot the crap out of Venezuela? And you're Canada, so you're nowhere near as tough as Venezuela.
Oh, that would be a very big mistake. No,
yes,
you don't want to piss off the Canadians.
Oh, he's already pissed off the Canadians so bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, but you definitely don't want to start bringing up a shooting war. They're still salty about the War 1812.
Yeah. So, yeah. Now I feel like I want to go game something. I'm going to go sit in the White House in Minecraft.
Go sit in,
I'm going to go find the Oval Office and sit in. I'm going to go find the Oval Office and sit in and pretend that I won't even have to pretend. I can say I'm going to make better decisions than the guy who's sitting here now.
Well, don't forget to join back into my game tonight, because it's our week.
That's right. It's our on week. No, I didn't forget that. It's on my list and everything. So, well, I guess, yeah, we've been an hour and a half onto this topic of gaming, and I'm sure we're going to come back and look at it, because, like I said, I really feel like we have those tenets, which we believe, but we do need a way to recharge and move into a safe space. Mm-hmm. And not just a safe space on the streets, but a safe space from the world itself.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to be kind when you aren't fighting battles all day.
Unless you're fighting battles you have an actual stake in and you have some control over.
Yeah.
And you know the rules that you're fighting against.
Yep.
Because there are no rules or laws around here anymore.
So is that your signing off?
Yeah, that's our signing off for today. I want to thank everybody for joining and listening, even though nobody joined, but people might come back after the fact because, you know, who knows?
And I still don't know what the ruins thing was about.
I'm sure I'll hear all about it.
I imagine you will.
And we can bring that up at the next one we have. Again, my name is Michael Anderson Henderson Dorland.
And I'm your regional step pope, Richard.
And want to thank everybody for joining in, and good gaming to you out there. And I don't know, we need to come up with like a gaming catchphrase to sign off with. May your dice always roll ones, because failure's not an option. It's mandatory, and it makes for better stories, especially in the gaming world.
Some of my favorite dice rolls were critical failures.
Exactly. That's what I said. And we lean into that stuff because it makes the best stories. So may your dice rolls always be one. All right, everybody. Take care.